All right, we are live. We're going to let people trickle in for a minute, maybe 2 minutes or so. There's no game to really play, there's no music to really play. So, what I'll do is I will start off with a little introduction of what this is, what we're doing here, and then we'll lead into who's with us today, and then we'll get to the 20-minute snack size info dump slash inspiration of what we're talking about today. I'm Danny. I lead creator initiatives at hashtag paid, and we have been running this weekly marketing, call it a weekly marketing webinar series for the past. This is week 4. The idea is, how do we provide expert insight into a certain element that relates to influencer marketing or is adjacent to influencer marketing every week. So either you come out feeling informed, or you feel a little inspired, or maybe a bit of both. In past weeks, we've covered topics like how to choose the right creator and how to build your roster, where to use creator content across the marketing mix. And today is the first time we're taking, I'd say, a little step to the right compared to the typical topics you hear when it comes to influence marketing or influence marketing companies. The reason I say that is because one thing we believe in wholeheartedly at hashtag paid is in-person events. And what we'd like to do with those in-person events is almost augment or take the experience of what we're doing behind the scenes and actually bring it to life. And the person that leads this, and the person that has very successfully led this, and we have a ton of fun with it over the past year or so, is the woman that's with me today. The person below me or above me, wherever they are on the screen. This is Kerry-Anne Hamilton, who is our events lead at hashtag paid and touches them all. Kerry, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We don't talk to each other at all throughout the year, so this is definitely new. For everyone that's here right now, can you give a bit of a background on who you are and what you do at hashtag paid?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Danny said, my name's Kerry-Anne. I run our events department here at hashtag paid. But before doing so, I actually came from the real estate world, where I quickly found out that my favorite part about my job was actually to host all of the events. From there, I moved into the world of experiential marketing, so planning events on behalf of brands. So very different from an event planner who would plan a bar mitzvah or a wedding. I consider myself an event marketer, and that is someone who hosts events and plans events on behalf of brands. Then I switched over to industry side, joining hashtag paid. I've now been running the department for just over a year now. And we do some pretty cool events that basically bring creators and marketers together IRL.
See, the reason that, for everyone here, the reason that I wanted to have this conversation publicly with Kerry-Anne in front of everyone here is because a lot of people might think, oh, event marketing, brand activations at events, it's not stuff we touch. It's not stuff that we're thinking about. But the truth is, what we're trying to do at events is you're trying to create memorable moments. You're trying to increase the amount that people are talking about you. It's kind of the reason why you're going to do so. And so Kerry-Anne has all the knowledge when it comes to this. So we thought, why don't we talk about how to create memorable events with creators that get creators talking, so that not only can you understand how to approach brand activations in the future, but 2, you can actually take this info and take these insights back and apply it to your influence marketing campaigns in the future, which we'll get to later. But let's start pretty easy. I think the best place to start here is brand activations at these events. Brands want to come to events, whether it's with us, whether it's with any other company, the Met Gala, Art Basel. They want to be there because they want to be around where all these creators are. The question I have for you is, from a brand activation perspective and mindset, what's really important for brands to get right when they're creating activations?
Absolutely. You want to think of your brand activations as a creator production set. And anyone that's on the call that's not familiar with what a brand activation is, it's an experience where a brand or a product can essentially immerse attendees within their world. So think of a trade show on a small scale, or I'm sure we've all heard of the Barbie marketing bonanza that's going on. And so with that, think of Barbie's partnership with Airbnb and their house in Malibu. So that's really immersing attendees in the brand itself. So that's what a brand activation is. Now, where I see that brands sometimes go wrong is they very much think of the product or the service. They don't actually think about the experience that they're providing. And so when I think about creators and them actually interacting with the brands or furthermore posting on behalf of the brands, is you want to consider is what is that experience that they're actually getting to go through? What's a reason for them to actually pick up their phone and take content? And there's multiple different reasons as to why creators do that. But really, you want that surprise and delight moment. And that can come through different things like personalization, whether that's a phone case and you're actually adding their name to it, whether that can be personalizing a cocktail. But furthermore, you want to think about what is the experience start to finish. So recently we were working with Paramount Plus, and they came out with a new series called The Pink Ladies. And The Pink Ladies is a spinoff from Grease. So I said, what better way to immerse the people within the nostalgia of Grease? So think about things like the Frosty Palace, the mini burgers, the pink milkshakes, those sorts of things, allowed them to actually immerse themselves within the show. So trying on the pink jackets, which we all know are iconic, taking a photo moment, which we did on the bleachers. But then I thought that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough to be like, wow, this is a moment that I have to capture. So I woke up one morning and said, why not do a flash mob? Everybody knows Grease for all of the music and the dances that are in it. And so what we did during the event was what you call a stunt. And a stunt is exactly what it is. It's a moment that happens within the event that grabs everybody's attention. And so with that, we had the flash mob, all the lights went down, music went down. People knew that something was about to happen. It built up the anticipation. And next thing you know, a bunch of dancers come out and do the flash mob. Now, I can guarantee you that 90% of the attendees for our events had their phones up in the air, and a lot of those people actually ended up posting on their social channels. So thinking outside of just what are you either trying to sell or sample, really immersing themselves within the brand and experience as a whole. And that's kind of what forms that production set.
Yeah, I like that saying, giving creators a production set as part of your brand activation. I think that's super smart. You touched on something a couple minutes ago when it comes to like getting creators to post about the event. I think what we've seen in the past is seems like social currency isn't as relevant. Like, hey, tag us and post and we'll give you X. But instead, there's other tactics I'd assume that can be used that are brand friendly and creator friendly. So the question I have for you here is like, how should brands be thinking about activating so that creators want to post even more at these events?
First, ask yourself, why do you follow a creator? And most likely, you either like their educational tips, they live an aspirational life that you want to follow, you appreciate their brands that they're actually promoting because it fits within your lifestyle. Think about yourself first. You don't need to overly complicate it. I find that a lot of times people think of creators as these mass celebrities. Go out for dinner with one of them, and I promise you they're as normal as they get. And so with that, really what creators want to be able to do is immerse yourself within their life or the attendees. So anyone that's following them, they want to be able to follow their life. And one thing that they do is get to go to events. And so what they're looking for is that production set, which I had talked about before, but also to an extent, kind of showcasing the aspirational life that they get to live. And so different ways that brands can kind of tap into this is not only creating the experience, but also supporting the creator economy. So one thing that's always overlooked is creators really are experts in their field. I'm not talking about influencers who have, a large influence and are able to kind of sell items. When we talk about creators, they are experts. So if you're doing something and you're a furniture company, for example, and you're looking to showcase furniture, why not hire a creator who's an artist and actually have them paint on the furniture? Reason being is because creators want to support other creators. Whether they know each other or not is irrelevant. It's the same way that if you were to go to a wedding, you probably posted about on your Instagram, and it's your nod and your way of saying, like, we support you. Thank you for having us. We're proud to be here. Creators do the exact same thing for one another. They want to build those relationships. And so one thing I find that's overlooked by brands is while they believe that they're the experts in the industry, and they may be, why not align themselves with other experts who can be creators? And that actually entices other creators attending your event to organically post.
It reminds me of whenever you and I go to an event together and people find out that we're Canadian, and then we find other Canadian marketers or creators. It's like there's the instant bond. And so I think it's a really strong observation from your point of creators do want to support other creators. So how do you incorporate that into your experience so that, one, you're supporting creators, but it does increase that UGC potential, which is something that every single brand wants out of these events. If I almost take a step back, we've talked about the actual activation. We've talked about then how to use this activation to increase UGC. We come out of COVID in a place where everyone wants to throw events. And it's very easy to be like, yeah, let's go throw events and bring people together. But beyond bringing people together, what are other elements you're thinking about when throwing these events to get creators excited, to build these supposed moments with creators?
I think another element of events is events can be intimidating, right? There's so many details that goes into throwing a successful event that I think a lot of the time people get caught up with having the fanciest new flashy venue, for example, or having the best caterers there or top shelf alcohol. And that's all great. It does create buzz. But furthermore, I think when somebody walks into an event, how do you elevate it? How do you elevate the mundane elements that go into event? We've all gone through a check-in process, for example. We've all gone through coat check. How do you elevate those experiences for people? Is there a name tag and is it digital so they can easily tap another person's name tag and connect with one another? Is there some sort of riddle that's on the back of them that they have to solve with someone to help with the networking aspects? If you look at coat check, for example, how do you make that a more seamless process so you're not standing waiting forever? They get a welcome drink immediately when they drop off their coats? They're not going into an event empty-handed. When they go to the washroom, what are the different elements within a washroom that you can provide to them? Is it simple things like having a comb, dry shampoo, hairspray, etc.? Is it having a photo moment? Because we all know that people love to take selfies in the bathroom. Your gift bag experience is a great one. It's been around forever. People obviously like receiving complimentary items, but something that we recently did is we elevated the gift bag experience and actually allowed people to shop through what looks like a market of creator brands and enterprise brands and allows them to go through that market and choose items that are applicable for them. Therefore, both your attendees and creators are going home with items that they actually want. Furthermore, we found that those creators are actually more likely to post those items because they chose them. They actually wanted them. So that's one way to kind of elevate your event overall, is really look at those mundane elements that go into event and just think, how do I create a little bit of an experience out of each and every one of those? And I promise they'll go a long way. Next is specifically for brands. When you look at your brand activation, the majority of times your investment goes into the activation itself. You don't think about the pre and you don't think about the post. But especially when you're talking to creators, how's there an opportunity to re-engage them after the event? A lot of people will send an email, thank you so much for attending. If you're personally connected, maybe it's a text message. But consider, let's say you're a fashion brand, for example. Imagine you hired a creator who was a stylist. You went up, there was a virtual wardrobe. People could actually choose the items that they wanted to create an entire outfit. And then that PR box is sent to them afterwards. But not only is it a PR box, it's actually a personalized outfit that that creator or attendee got to choose. That is something that people will post after, and it'll help increase the longevity of the event over it just being your 24-hour investment at the event itself. That will help you get weeks and weeks and weeks of content afterwards that you're able to repost and repurpose.
So what I'm hearing, and this is why I was really excited to have this conversation, was so many of the elements and so many of these like checklist items that you go through, that you live off of, and that's almost like your holy grail when you're throwing these events, are so similar to influencer marketing, like traditional influencer marketing campaigns. First, it's the experience. Second, it's the human. Like, how do you show the human that you care, and how do you show the human that they're in partnership with you? And then third is the relationship after. It's like, yes, they can post today and the contract supposedly is done, but do you want to build that relationship long term, which I think is really cool. And so taking the event mindset that you have, and whether it's applying it to brand activations or applying it to influencer marketing campaigns, I think they're really strong principles that anyone can follow to really get a lot out of the effort that they put in, because the stuff isn't easy. Yeah. The one thing I wanted to call back on, you've mentioned the word relationships a lot, and like sometimes networking, and that's, I think, quite usual for people to come to an event and want to meet other people. How do you think about increasing that interaction value so that when someone comes to an event, they leave being like, oh yeah, like I met Kerry-Anne. I really like this. Like we had a good relationship, which then heightened the event, which then heightened the experience, and then heightened like the brand equity. What is it that you do to help more people meet each other at events?
It's a great question. It's something that I often think about. I think we all remember being kids, for example, and going to camp for the first time. And you're like excited, but you're still that little bit nervous, but you know that it's going to be a good experience. So you just jump in with 2 feet. I think a lot of people feel that way going to an event. And I think that's why so many people ask for a +1, so that you kind of have that buffer to bounce back on. But one thing that I consider is a networking ambassador within the event. And who that is, and that can be multiple people, and it can be people either from your company or you can hire them. And they're essentially like the master networkers of the evening. So they'll welcome you within the front door. You'll catch them within the first 5-10 minutes. They'll get to know who you are. And then they'll get to know the other people in the room. And they can kind of connect different commonalities between you. And they can help support that networking effort that happens at an event. Because at the end of the day, once you leave an event, it's been a week, you're not going to remember the little details. You're not going to remember the food or the cocktails or the decals on the floor. But what you are going to remember is those relationships. And so I think hiring somebody or using someone who's internal at your company to be that professional networker. In our case, we have people that will actually connect marketers and creators together, because we do find that there's a disconnect between the two worlds. But at other events, it can happen. It can happen anywhere. And I think investing in those people is something that is, I can frankly say, always overlooked, but goes the farthest. And when I look at the events that we create, one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get is a thank you for the relationships that come out of that. Whether that's brand partnerships through creators and marketers, whether it's two marketers who then connect and go for coffee afterwards. We've had people fly from LA to New York to meet the creator to then go back to actually meet somebody that they met at the event. Those relationships really are priceless, and making sure that you have those different either people or activities that are going to join two people together. So when I talk about the idea of the check-in badge, maybe it's having symbols on the check-in badge and somebody needs to go find their match and then complete something and they get some sort of prize. That's a really easy way to incorporate networking within your event. You're essentially just gamifying networking, and it goes a long way.
See, there's so much here, and I think you and I could go on for hours and hours and hours. I know it is 1:18, so I kind of want to wrap up a little bit here. But what I'm hearing is this: I'm hearing give creators a production set from the experience. Then I'm hearing, elevate the mundane from all these elements where, again, you don't have to put in so many resources. The resource can just be the creativity and the way you're thinking about things in a world, especially in like a downturn of an economy where everything is more expensive and everyone needs more ROI. Then I'm also hearing things like help creators support creators, which is, again, a great perspective to have, even with an influencer marketing campaign. I remember talking to a marketer around a year ago, and they were saying that one of the reasons these creators love working with this brand is because the brand helps to facilitate connections between the creators they work with. So it does feel more community. It does feel like it goes beyond the experience, which then you spoke about is how do you think about going beyond the experience? What can you send? What personal piece of information can you take and then extend that? And I think with these 4 things here, one, I don't think you'll ever be out of a job, but maybe someone can steal your job. I'm joking. But the second thing is like this can be applied all over. So what I'd encourage everyone to do is when you're sponsoring events, one, think through these 4 points and be a bit more proactive as to how you're going to gain a lot of value. And then on the second side, on influencer marketing specifically, take these same principles. How do you work with a bunch of creators? What are the commonalities between them? What can you do ad hoc that connects them? What can you do to help them support each other? What can you do to give them a production set so they really want to immerse themselves in your world? Kerry-Anne, everything you've said here has been ridiculously helpful. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a fun, different twist on looking at working with creators, and keep creating these crazy events that go above and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to be back next week. Next week, we're talking something a little bit more unsexy than throwing cool events, but we're talking measurement, data, analytics with our head of data strategy and analytics, Rochelle Betwigas. It's going to be a lot of fun because we're talking beyond typical likes and comments for brand awareness. What can you do to make these brand awareness plays, especially in this type of economy, really worthwhile? And you can find different signals to help inform that future campaign. But that's all for me this week. 20 minutes are done. Thank you for everyone who joined in. And we will see you again every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern or 11 or 10 a.m. Pacific time, man. These time zones kill me. But have a great week. And thanks everyone for spending 20 minutes with us.
Thanks, everyone.